A land once home to 300 ancient mosques. Today, just 3 have survived. This is Hungary. Located in the heart of Europe, bordering Ukraine. In this second episode of the Hungary Hunt, I'm hunting for ancient mosques in Hungary. Missing mosques, 300 of them. God knows what is up here because no one's been up here for years. 1966, 1956, wow. So I'm gonna pray. It's a mosque and I'm gonna pray, I don't care. Mosques that don't exist, mosques that are hiding in plain sight. Mosques you wouldn't even recognize because they've been plastered over as churches. This isn't about finding buildings and ruins, it's about finding the lost Islamic civilization of Hungary. And it's still here, if you know where to look. My hunt would be a daring one. Not only was I tasked with traversing across the entirety of Hungary to find these lost relics, but also to climb atop of each of these minarets, the 3 remaining minarets in Hungary. If you haven't already, before you watch the rest of this video, be sure to like, follow and subscribe to help the algorithms, because the work and the footage that you see on this channel is like none other. Having ticked off Budapest from my map, my journey would now lead me north through the same flat Hungarian plains the Ottoman Janissaries marched through. Tomorrow, I'd be venturing to one of the furthest, most northern minarets of Islam. So this city, Eger, in 1552, Sultan Suleiman, who is pretty much at the pinnacle of the story between Hungary and the Ottomans. Sultan Suleiman initiated the siege of Eger in 1552. Unfortunate for the Ottomans, that siege was unsuccessful because of the forbearance of the Hungarians that were dug out in the castles of Eger. So the Ottomans tried again. And by about 1596, the victorious Ottoman army marched triumphantly. During the Ottoman reign, they would mould Eger to be a fort. It was very strategic. And so during the Ottoman period, approximately 17 mosques were developed in the style of the Ottomans. But today, only one of these Ottoman minarets remain. And it today stands alone in the city of Eger. There's an interesting story about this particular minaret. When the Ottomans lost the control of Hungary, or particularly the city, in around 1680s, the Christians obviously, they removed all the mosques, they converted them into churches. This one was converted into a church, and then in the 1800s it was demolished. Of course, the mosque is not here. You're probably wondering, right, what about the minaret? Why did they just leave that up there? Well, they couldn't destroy it. They had 600 oxen, and they tried to destroy the minaret, but even still, the minaret, obviously, as a testimony to the strong architecture of the Ottomans, still today, still stands after so many attempts to destroy it and really take it to the ground. And so instead they plonked a cross on top. And we're going to climb up. And it's unique. I mean, you can just see how big this thing would have been. Like, just looking at the size of the minaret. So I've seen a lot of Ottoman mosques in the Balkans. So it's quite big for an Ottoman mosque. You can imagine the other beautiful lavish structures that the Ottomans built, and now today obviously pulled down, eviscerated and erased. This is seriously an incredible sight to behold, and this is, till today, the most northern minaret the Ottomans ever built. Oh my goodness. I don't even know if you can see anything in this. Wow, this is incredible. Can you imagine having to do this as your job? Bro, this is crazy. So apparently there's like 92 steps, and just when you think you reach the top, you haven't. It's truly spectacular. Wow. It's actually one of the tallest things here. It's a big drop. This is the castle that they tried to besiege. still stands today, or at least what remains of it. Some of it was reconstructed. You can imagine this whole city, you can just see the little minarets. You just imagine what it would have looked like. Hayy ala salah, hayy ala salah, hayy ala al-falah. Right, on our way back down now. I'm pretty sure I'm the only person in Hungary who's actually visiting because of the Ottoman past. It doesn't even feel like I'm actually in Hungary. I mean, words can't do justice to how odd this looks. It's in an environment that it doesn't quite fit in, but also it does. So I believe this is the castle that actually fought off, very bravely may I add, the Ottoman incursion. I looked at that minaret a long time ago, a couple of months ago. Never would I imagine actually visiting this place. This small, obscure little town, to me that is, has now become ingrained within my memories. Well, ain't that a shame? I mean, nobody's watching, right? Right, I guess we're in. And standing in solitude in all of these very European-esque churches is a lonely minaret. The furthest, most northern minaret goes to show the length and the breadth which the Ottoman Empire expanded to under the rule of Sultan Suleiman. It's an accomplishment, it is. This is the height of the Ottoman Empire. This is the culmination of it all. And they say, you know, the height of anything, if you're at the height of success, the seeds for your downfall are planted at that very second. And when you're at your lowest points in life, that is when the seeds of success are planted. It looks like the seeds of the Ottoman Empire's downfall began at this very spot. Eger. Eger was just but a glimpse of the Ottoman treasures we're yet to discover, because we're going to traverse the entirety of Hungary. Our hunt now brings us to the south, but along the way I made a quick stopover at a truly remarkable location, a former Ottoman settlement by the name of Hamza Bey, today Ered. Nestled away in the rural streets of central Hungary, out of place and out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hamza Bey. Yeah, that's right. This city, which is called Ered now, was actually called Hamza Bey after the governor of this province during the Ottoman Islamic rule over Hungary, and in particular this area and this region. This minaret behind me was built in the 16th century or the 15th century, but it was part of Hamza Bey's massive mosque that he had. And it was a mosque which would stand for hundreds of years, or at least the minaret would stand for hundreds of years, because the mosque would be destroyed after the fall of the Ottomans. So this minaret here has stood on that very spot for the past 400 years. But funnily enough, Evliya Çelebi, one of the Ottoman, very, very famous Ottoman travelers, he actually visited this very city. And it's so crazy because this Çelebi guy went everywhere throughout the Ottoman lands, and he actually traveled to this very mosque. Can you imagine Çelebi, the man himself, just strolling across the street and looking at this beautiful mosque that he describes in his travelogue. The top of the minaret was actually destroyed, so that's why you can see it's different material. Different material was used because during the 1970s, funnily enough, during communism, the mosque was actually rebuilt, or at least the minaret was rebuilt. And unfortunately, you can't actually enter it, which is a bit of a shame. So I'm going to try to ring the guy and see if it's available to visit. The street's actually called Mesket, which in Turkish means mosque. I'm trying to find now how to get in. But sadly, because of how forgotten and neglected this minaret has become, it has remained closed. That was the second out of the 3 surviving Ottoman minarets in Hungary. The journey continues all the way through the flat fields to one of Europe's strangest cities, a ghost of the Ottomans, wherein lies a 500-year-old mosque in the heart of a now Catholic city, Pécs. In 1543, the city of Pécs fell to the Ottomans, becoming a key stronghold during their 150-year rule. But Pécs wasn't just a military outpost. It blossomed into a hub of education and culture. Even till today, the city has a charm to it, almost but not Ottoman. During this time, the Ottomans established 5 madrasas, these are higher learning institutions, and 10 maktabs, elementary schools, that taught the fundamentals of Islam, language, and even sciences. In 1663, the famous Ottoman traveller and scribe Evliya Çelebi visited Pécs. He documented an impressive legacy, listing 7 large mosques and 10 smaller ones, scattered throughout the city. His writings paint a picture of a vibrant community, steeped in faith and learning. Today, only fragments of that legacy remain, but their echoes can still be felt, sandwiched into the new reality which came after. From mosque to church to museum, the Yakavoli Hasan Pasha Jami. In its courtyard once stood a thriving madrasa, a soup kitchen for the poor to eat from freely, and even a hotel or caravanserai, where travellers could stay for free for several days. Today, what remains is a hollow shell of a mosque, riddled with traces of many eras. Which bits was reconstructed and which bits were the original?
There's a grail is the old.
The old.
When it was a church, this was a hospital's church. This was a Black Death hospital.
Oh, yeah.
At this time.
When the Francis monks acquired the mosque after the expulsion of the Muslims in the area, because these monks were not too rich, they were forced to just merely paint over and also keep the minaret and instead turn it into a bell tower. So we've been given special permission to climb up to the minaret. So literally nobody ever gets the permission to do this. The last time they did this was years ago. So I'm a very lucky man. Oh yeah. This is not a sight, like I'm so lucky to be able to just even look at this. This is what I'm scared of. Get in now. Wow, okay. So this is probably ancient. As you can see, it's coming off, so gotta be very careful. Let's make our way up. So as always with Ottoman minarets, you can see the slits that are used for daylight. Speaking of daylight, we've not got too long left, about an hour left. We have a few more locations on our list in Pécs. So there was an earthquake in Croatia very recently. And that is why they actually closed this off to the public. So God knows what is up here, because no one's been up here for years. And when a wealthy businessman who was interested in history bought the property off of the church, reconstruction began from the 1940s to the 60s, a time where Hungary was one of the first nations in Europe to promote the preservation of heritage. 1966. That says 1956. Wow. 1972. That is incredible. This is like an Indiana Jones mission. Oh, oh, Harry, I've reached the top. I believe the top half is new. We are sneaking up an Ottoman minaret. Oh Lord, that is gracious. Wow. What a lucky man I am today. Oh. Against all odds, it has survived. The call to success, the call to prayer would ring across the city every day. But in today's realm, it remains silent, awaiting the moment it will serve again. The Ottomans may have departed 4 centuries ago, but the masajid were never theirs to own. They belonged to Allah alone. It is under His protection these anomalies remain, preserved as reminders that true sovereignty belongs to God alone. And what do you, like, local Hungarians think of the Ottomans, especially now?
It happened, and this is a part of our history.
Yeah. But do you ever get Hungarians visiting this mosque? Or?
Yeah, and Hungarians, many people, when hear the word Islam, they think they do wrong and they hurt people, but the Islam is not this. We want to tell them it's not true, because we learn many things.
The lady informed me before that you see holes in top of the dome and inside the corners. They're actually used for acoustics, so they're actually damped with, like, I believe it's wool. So when the air moisture, like, picks it up, it sort of dampens and echoes the voice in a way. So if I was to whisper here, hello, how you doing? I could hear the echo from there. Wow. Hello. Very, very intelligent design, that is. I never expected that to be here in a mosque. Wow. Anything else, like, hidden?
Két dolog van, ami mindennapi, minden.
Right. Where?
Find it.
Oh, I have to find it.
Yeah.
Is it? Oh, okay. Oh, it must be a cross somewhere. And after some time of desperately trying to find this cross, the kind museum guide pointed to the floor. You're gonna have to give me a hint. Oh. Right here. That's incredible.
And this is a bishop who is still here.
Oh, he's buried here.
Yeah.
There's so much history just in one building. It's remarkable. Thank you so much. I appreciate your help. Thank you, Flower. I then FaceTimed my friend on top of this old Ottoman minaret. Don't ask why. It's a weird tradition I have. And then I had to make my way back down because I still hadn't visited all of Pécs' remaining mosques. There were still 2 more to go. Here we can see an old Ottoman grave just outside of the mosque, and that being the turban on it being a symbol that whoever was buried here was a sheikh or an ulama. The same goes and applies with this one here. But these are hundreds of years old, truly ancient relics. And then, in the heart of this city, a city that has long since moved on from its Muslim past, it stands, the Mosque of Pasha Qasim. Neither forgotten nor fully embraced, it's a striking reminder of an era that still whispers. That brings us to where we began this video. The Qasim Pasha Mosque behind me was constructed in the 1540s, and it was, of course, the grand mosque of the city of Pécs in the 15 and 1600s. But till today, it is the largest surviving Ottoman architecture here in the entirety of Hungary. And it is truly magnificent. It's large, it's capacious. The insides really remind me of like Cordoba, Spain. But of course, the Ottoman rule couldn't last for long, and so once the Ottomans were forced out in the 1600s and 1700s, this mosque slowly over time began to lose its shape. By 1702, the Habsburg converted the mosque into a church. I mean, it's flat play, you know. The Ottomans sort of converted churches into mosques. And then in 1765, roughly around then, the Jesuits come in and they completely knock and bulldoze the minaret as a form of eradicating the Islamic past. And if you look at the top of that dome, you can even see that the cross has been placed on top of the crescent. And Evliya Çelebi, the famous Ottoman traveller and the writer, he actually writes about this very mosque. And it's crazy because he literally documented almost every single mosque that we visited on this trip, and he actually noted how beautiful the views were from the mosque. Yeah, so there's 5 bells that played then, and that's sort of unusual for a church. The 5 bells consisting of specific dates. They commemorate 5 victories against the Ottomans. I'm not too sure which of those dates and which battles they won, so that's another sort of long-lasting impact of the Ottomans here, is that it's still today remembered through the bells of the church. And as my time in Pécs draws closer to an end, under the dim glow of the setting sun, as darkness began to claim the city, there was one final vestige
that I wanted to pay my respects to. A vestige that may not be well remembered as the rest. A vestige engulfed by time and neglect. A vestige that I feared would not even be there when I arrived.
So as you turn right into this, what may seem like an ordinary car park, it turns out that the roots and the history of this place go back hundreds of years. I mean, why do they always find historic things in car parks? I have no idea. But what I'm standing on right now, it's hard to believe, but these founding stones here are the remains of an old Ottoman mosque called Ferhadi Mosque. It was built during the 1500s, and today this is what remains of the mosque, a house of God. Today it's left desecrated. Not even a plaque or a mural that says what this thing was. It's probably one of the saddest mosques that I've seen, but just imagine how many mosques have gone completely erased. They were completely flattened and removed from memory. And you can even see some of the old mihrab-like shapes. Those are windows. Yeah, and you can actually point out a few of the Arabic calligraphy. Allahumma ftah li abwaaba rahmatik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. It's the house of God, man. Whether it's turned into a car park, or whether it's turned into a church, or whether it's turned into a museum, they will forever be sacred places. We may not see it today, we may not see it with our own eyes today, but these places are filled with the presence of the malaika, the angels. The angels are carrying on the rites and they're fulfilling the rites of the mosque by keeping it in the remembrance of God.
As I say farewell to this sacred space, I capture as much of it as possible. But with all this talk of Islamic architecture, there wasn't a Muslim in sight. In fact, today there remains less than 5,000 Muslims, almost none of those being descendants of the original Muslims, most being foreign students, including Hassan, straight from Gaza.
Okay, assalamu alaikum. First of all, what is your name? Introduce yourself.
Wa alaikum salam, I'm Hassan Al-Alami and I am from Gaza, Palestine.
You're a student here?
Yes, I'm a student. I'm a medical student. I've grown my entire life in Gaza, so I really miss everything there. Like it's been, homesickness has been hitting really hard since I came here, and it's just been very recently until the mosque has been constructed where I could find myself and adapt.
You're a Muslim in Hungary. How does that make you feel?
It's good. It's good experience. I have a good circle of friends here. Good Muslim community. Since the mosque has been constructed, we were able to gather every Friday and to practice our 5 prayers in congregation. It's really nice actually to see how the Muslim architecture that we see here as a remnant of the Ottoman Empire, and it's really nice to see the mosques around, you know, the tombs, the places that really show how deep historical ties that the Ottoman Empire had across the globe.
Of course, in a way it's like being closer to home because of that influence as well.
Yeah, it gives you this vibe of, you know.
But there was something also particularly interesting about Hungary and Islam. And I spoke to Edward, a recent revert to Islam, who's infatuated with the history of Turkey in Europe. So you would say that you have a strong connection to the land of Hungary. This is your motherland, right?
Even though I've only been there once, you know, lots of memories and stories growing up I heard were about Hungary, about how my grandmother, although she was born in Budapest, she grew up on a farm, and so I'd hear her kind of farming village stories about Hungary. You know, my great-great-grandfather and his experience of the First World War. It's interesting that Hungary actually also has a pre-Ottoman Islamic history as well. There's travelers' accounts which show that actually in the medieval kingdom of Hungary, there was a Muslim population, and at one point even as many as 30 villages of Muslims.
What a bombshell that was. I don't know. I've never come across that.
And you can still see this actually. So the word that the Hungarians back then used for Muslim, the word is Böszörményi. And there's different ideas about the origin of that term. But actually there's a place which has that word in its name. So there's a small, very, very small part of that legacy still left.
Oh, my mind is utterly blown. So how did these Muslims, how did they enter, or how did they end up in Hungary? Like, was it through trade or?
So I'm not sure how familiar you are with the the origins of the Magyars as a organ of the Hungarians of today. So they come to Europe in, I think, the 9th century, if I'm not mistaken, or the 9th and 10th century. We have this confederation of tribes that kind of move in from the east, and it's largely pagan, but these 7 Magyar tribes get together with another 3 tribes, I think from Khazaria, if I'm not mistaken, which has Muslims in them. So actually you can argue that the people, the 10 tribes that make up what becomes the Hungarians, there were Muslims among them before they even embraced Catholicism as the kind of state faith.
And after having my mind utterly blown at the fact that Muslims predated the Ottomans, I wanted to search more about Muslims living in Hungary today. My journey would now take me even further south, the small town of Siklós, where I was told there were indigenous Europeans living amongst the ruins of the Ottomans, not Hungarians, but Bosniaks. Wow, I turned the corner and you see, it's unbelievable, wow. Built between 1543 and 1565, this Ottoman mosque behind me was built during the Ottoman conquest of these lands. So Bali Bey, some of you may know him, he was actually the personal sort of advisor to Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent. He fought alongside him, he was pivotal in the conquest of Hungary as well. And he was actually of Bosnian origin. This Ottoman mosque behind me was made in honor of him, and it was named after him. Now, of course, it remains one of the only intact Ottoman mosques in the entirety of Hungary, because obviously they were all destroyed. Unfortunately, during the withdrawal of the Ottomans from the area, this mosque was used as a homeless shelter. It was left abandoned, and so the minaret collapsed. There was a massive reconstruction and restoration process done by the help of the Turkish government. I find it really fitting that this mosque, which was intended to be worshipped in after hundreds of years of being abandoned, used as a homeless shelter, left in ruins, derelict, now today is able to be fulfilled once again after 400 years. Can you imagine? So Friday prayers used to take place here after the 1990s, and because of the Bosnian War, the South Slavic War, the Yugoslav wars, many of the Bosnian refugees, the migrants, actually moved to Siklós because it's very close to the border of Yugoslavia. And so this mosque was actually used by the Bosnians when they used to pray their Friday prayers, up until very recently. But unfortunately, like many of the monuments in Hungary, the Ottoman monuments of Hungary, they've now been left to wither away. You know, the remnants of the Ottoman Empire are now becoming remnants once again. And if you look on Google reviews, you'll see that this place is always closed, even though it literally says it's open from whatever 9 to 5 p.m. This is supposed to be open now, but it's closed. So I'm gonna pray now because it's a mosque, and I'm gonna pray, I don't care.
حول النور بلادي فاكتسي
You can just about see inside of it. I know it's very strange to say, but this is such an Ottoman building. Really, it is. I mean, this is as if you've just taken it straight from Kosovo or any other mosque in the Balkans. Truly unique style as well. It's not just the simple, domed, curved dome. It's quite an intricate piece. Look at that. Look how gorgeous that is. This is absolutely magnificent. But this is truly something you do not see every single day. Can you imagine what the locals feel? Because you're in Europe, you're, Hungary, it's your nation, but then you see a relic of the old Ottoman past.
These mosques may never return to their original usage again, but there's something truly poetic about these spaces. These irregular spaces that don't conform with their surroundings, almost as if being here in these old Ottoman mosques, confined within these walls, is like being stuck in limbo. A past that only continues to live within these walls. One step outside brings me straight back to the present, a holy realm that transcends time.